Three. Okay, we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Above and Beyond the Accessibility and Inclusion podcast for Monday, May the 15th. We've missed you guys. Maddie, how are you?
Well, I was just checking to see if I was alive, and yeah, the hand, as floppy as it may be, is working. So yes, I'm here in the live.
How you doing, my friend?
I'm tired. It's 7, not 5.
Yes, you
So
apologize a little bit late.
yeah, well, it happens. Hey, we're still live though. This is all good.
We're still
Yeah.
live. We're still here. Maddie's wearing pink. I'm looking pink. Um, it was an interesting weekend outside in Hamilton at the So Hungry Festival with Good on You, part of the Ontario Disability Coalition. Happy to participate. Failing the results a couple days later. But nonetheless, we had a great time. Sold a few items. It was a good experience. I'm happy to have been part of that with Good on You and the co-founder of the Ontario Disability Coalition, Sherry Caldwell. Yeah, and Monica Masagi. It was a great event. How about you, Maddie? How's things been with you?
I'm very busy with a lot of meetings, a lot of work with talking with politicians, talking with researchers, doing a lot of background stuff, and setting up a lot of really awesome projects that'll start later in the year. Um, yeah, this weekend I slept. My body's been telling me these days that I can keep a pretty active schedule during the week if I take some reset days on the weekend, and that was good. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
spent
the
time
thing.
with kids. Spent time with kids. Rested, slept. Um, yeah,
Yeah, no, I totally hear you, and it's just been go 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 for me too. With the event Saturday, I had a couple of events happening throughout the course of the week. So you know what? It's a challenge, and you know what? Rest and recovery are two very important things, especially if you're people with disabilities, because you're always, at least my perspective, in my opinion, Maddie, it's almost at times your mind and over mentality mindset is really you're trying to prove something to somebody else, when in actuality
yeah,
you really just should be kind of doing you. The best way you do yourself is and that should be enough. I find that a lot of times that I get into that mindset, but I'm not doing anything for anybody else. I'm doing it for myself because I know that what you and I do make a difference, and it's nice to get that subtle reinforcement from people from time to
yeah.
time. But it really is about making a difference, and I think we are making a difference. Even with this live and what we do in the community and how we make our impacts.
Yeah, I think so. And this I've been a person who likes doing, like, going 130% into everything that I do. Um, and in the past, I haven't really read the signs that I'm doing too much. My body usually tells me, but I used to just ignore it, and then I'd stumble and fall and fail, and I would undo a lot of the good work that I've been doing. Um, and it just was a pattern that was repeated. But when I had this after the car accident, my body has basically made it clear. It's like, hey, I'll give you this much ability to do stuff, and when I scream stop, well, I'm pulling the reins and you're stopping, and it makes me either take a step and say, okay, I need to rest now, or it makes me look at all the things that I'm doing, and I is like I sort of know what my core purpose is right now, and I think for the first time in my life, I really, really know what it is that I'm supposed to be doing at this point in my life, and I have to evaluate and do. uh, Is there anything in what I'm doing not quite doing that purpose, not quite helping me? It may be interesting, maybe fun, and it may have been a great thing to be part of, and it may be something I do in the future. But is it right now part of it? Is it? And if I let it go, would my purpose still be there? And I've had to just take let one thing go, and then another few minutes later, as I can add other things, I let another thing go, and it's this reflection of my both energy level, my physical ability, and my purpose have let me continue to do really, really good things, and politely part way of the things that aren't uh, for me to do right now. And oh my god, I wish I had known this as a in my 20s and 30s. The things I could do. You're muted.
It's hard to let things go. I totally
Yeah.
get it. And and it's that almost that feeling of being of value to people, and you want to be there and you want to support them as best you can. And
Yeah.
even when I ran in the election, Maddie, I crashed and burned as soon as that election was over. I was
Yeah.
down for a month, and I didn't want to be down for a month,
Yeah.
but that was my body
Yeah.
telling me I needed
That, yeah.
a little bit of a recharge.
Absolutely. It's it's something that it can be hard to explain to able-bodied people who haven't yet experienced their body and life telling them to stop. Because usually when their body is telling them to stop, they become one of us.
Welcome to the club. Join us,
Exactly.
kids.
Listen to your body, or you will become one of us. It's so
Oh
true,
boy.
though. I mean, there's so
Yeah.
many things that we as humans do. We put our head in the sand sometimes and ignore science because, like, we so want to do whatever it is that we're doing, and when we don't listen to our body rebels, and when or it's just being in a you're putting your body into a state that it's fragile, or that it's
Yeah, it's not
that
used to it.
yeah. And I mean, we joke about it, becoming one of us, but it really is. I look back into my life, and some of the things that ended up disabling me, or some of the times I got sick, definitely I was, overworking. Almost every single time I was overworking, and I would get sick, or I would get injured, and I wasn't being unsafe, but my body was not able to protect itself, where it might have been able to had I not been, um, you know, tiring it out. I I used to, I think back to my teen years, and I had an older cousin come live with me. He's about 2, 3 years older, but we were both very much into programming, but also very like self-taught in it. And we created this club called the Useless Midnight Programmers Corps, and we would basically give ourselves challenges to um, uh, to write a program that to do a particular thing, and it was to see who could do it the fastest. And it would, like, we would spend 6, 7, 8 hours, we'd be up to 3 or 4 a.m. and just trying to get this done, and then like being a zombie the next day, and then we'd do it again another day later, this time after time. I'm doing these crazy all-nighters, and I can't do all-nighters anymore. I if I stay up past 4 o'clock in the morning, I may be awake, but the next day I am. The next week, it takes me a week to compensate for that time I've taken. And I look back to my time as a kid, and I did this all the time in my
It
teens.
it's amazing how uh our bodies react as we get older,
Yeah,
and put the disability attached to it. It's a different way of thinking, and I find, at least for me, that we have to pivot, we have to evolve,
yeah, I
but
do.
and then it's pushing yourself, and it's pushing too
Mhm.
hard because you
Yeah,
feel like you have to prove something to somebody. But again,
yeah,
in reality, it's really doing the best version of you day in and day
yeah,
out.
yeah. And there's times like
Shell
where and there's times that like one of the things that I've recognized in myself, but I think I've talked to a lot of other people with disabilities, and it's similar. Um, it's our condition, whatever it is, isn't static. The struggles we may have may stay for a long time, but we can either progress and be able to get some level of functioning or lowering of pain that we've been missing for the last little while, and it allows us to feel that we can do a little bit more, and it feels great. But the risk in that is we also can have some regression, which means more pain or less of ability to do things than we previously had. And it's it's hard to like. I remember the mental state of my mental state in my 30s when I was the first time where I had significant health problem and significant physical challenges all at the same time. And my whole life, like I'd been like probably, you know, um, physically and medically able um, up until that point, and everything I could do, everything I was able to do before, just got stripped away, and I did not handle that very well. I experienced, significant depression, significant challenges. I I was heavily medicated. I basically was either in bed or on the couch for a good portion of a year. And even after that, it was a challenge for me to do any more than small little things. And I looked, 5 years after that, I had this, I saw a pain doctor. And he basically, was looking at me head to toe. And the biggest change that he told me was that all pain is acute. There is a cause to it, and there's either a source or it refers to another place. But your body is telling you there's something is wrong, or your body's signals throughout the body is wrong. But it's there's still an acute issue, and it let me just get get out of the whole it's in my head that I had been told by so many other doctors and professionals in hospitals and things like that that would never deal with the issues I'm having because they just summed it up with pain. So my my mental approach to like I still had the same level of pain, even though I was able to get specific things helped and whatnot. Um, but my attitude shifted, and I was able to handle that level of pain and like live in that level of pain. I think which prepared me for having it go to a whole nth level after this car accident. But it's when my mind is clear, I I can handle so much that what the rest of my body can't do. And when my mind isn't clear, there's times where the month of April, half of the month of April, I was in a complete brain fog because I had this infection in my arm, and I just couldn't think straight. That was harder for me, but I've still, you know, recognized that sometimes my body is telling me I just need to take a large break and I need to rest, and it'll be okay. And hopefully this will pass, and I will be able to, you know, do some of the things I was doing before. And if I can't do those things, we'll figure something else out. But the attitude, it's hard. It was hard for me to get to that point, but I find that we've talked a lot about attitudinal barriers are our biggest challenges, and sometimes that attitudinal barrier is in ourselves. We have to find a way to
Yeah.
break our own attitudinal barriers, our own ableism, our own fear of um, our our ailments, our conditions.
Yeah, without question. I think sometimes we do end up um, defeating ourselves because of the outside noise, let's call it, and the perception versus really what the reality is of what our capabilities are. Far too often within ourselves, we become defeated because we let that affect us and impact us.
Yep.
And I didn't really realize or recognize the way this conversation was going to go, Maddie. But I think it's important that that we encourage people within our community to not be afraid to speak up. Your
Yeah.
voice matters. Everybody's got a story, and everybody's story matters. And it's got to be told, and it's got to be told again and again and again and again until not only do you get heard, but you get past that and listened to, and you can incite a call to action. Call to action is vital. Um, so I was at a transit event last Thursday, Maddie, and it was a community open house. It was for conventional transit.
Okay.
So I attended because I wanted to be, I was curious,
Yep.
and some of the troublemakers on the other end, let's call them, they were there. And let me tell you, this event, God, I love Hamilton, but that event was not accessible. It begs the question. We've got the allyship here. We've got our advisory committee for persons with disabilities. We've got so many people with disabilities wanting to be part of the change. And I go to this event. Access to the venue where it was, this open house, was fine. No ASL interpreter, no live captioning. I wasn't there long enough to look at the washrooms. There was a presentation in what looked like a small gym type of venue with no accessible seating that made you feel dignified as a human being. And somebody joked and said, well, you just belong up front where I am, because that's where you belong. And I didn't know how to take that. I didn't know how to. I just laughed and shrugged it off, but I didn't know. I'm not trying to be one that sticks out like a sore thumb, even though it comes out like that.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to create and cultivate positive change. I know we had a meeting last week, and I used the analogy that you get more bees with honey than you do vinegar. And everything is trying to impose more and more barriers for people with disabilities rather than providing solutions. It comes up with the accessible transit here where, there's people no showing, there's people canceling at doors, there's people not canceling at all.
Mhm.
And so, they're getting tired of this, and they're saying they're going to impose an infraction system on people with disabilities, saying if you cancel so and so amount of times, this becomes it becomes more and more of a problem. And so I said, let's try attracting the bees with honey. Give people more opportunities and more ways to cancel. The technology is there. You got to call in to cancel, and we've talked about the long wait times on the Dart's
Oh
phone
my
call.
God. Yeah.
So, and if that's the only way, that's a problem. Text, web booking,
Yeah.
the website, um, through various other options, through automated messaging system, canceling your ride, confirming your cancellation. It's done. It's done. Why is our time at the mercy of those around us? I even was trying to do something with transit before I even got on this live. I waited over 30 minutes to get through to somebody, and I still didn't get through to them. So I had to hang up because we had this scheduled live to do. I thought 6:20. I had time to to go out and get her done, but no.
It's almost like we have to wait to get access to the transit people as many minutes as we have kilograms in our body.
Yeah, and it's and on the other side of the spectrum is like, well, we need you and we need you to do something now.
Yeah.
So it's like, our time isn't as valuable,
Yeah.
but when they need something, they need it now. It's unfair, it's unjust.
And
And
we
that's
know,
why.
yeah, and we know accessibility is a priority in other jurisdictions, and we know the positive ways of reaching out to the disability community, finding out what we actually need, reviewing plans with us to again to check in before they do things that it's gonna be a positive experience. So it's not like we're asking for something brand new. We're not asking for something that is, you know, so far ahead of the world right now. No, we know that places like we've talked before about Toronto and what they've been doing with the accessibility standards and with construction and roads and whatnot. Um, like it's so positive. Like the difference between the way Hamilton Transit and Toronto's accessibility folks are working with us is as far apart as you possibly can be, accepting the fact that there is some communication, but just the way it is, and with the priority on it, and the willingness to listen and change. It's aggravating. There's
Well,
no
yeah,
reason
and
for it to be an us versus them experience
no,
for
without
taxpayers.
question, it's an exactly it's a attitudinal barrier that needs
Yeah,
to change. Even from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, people get to pick and choose what they like and what they dislike. And this whole concept of well, let's look at what other jurisdictions are doing to see if we can make things better is quite honestly, Maddie, procrastination.
yeah,
It's procrastination toward what we truly need to progress. Every single city and jurisdiction has their assets, and we really need to be focused on the utilization of those assets. And I mean, when you and I started talking to the folks in Toronto, um, and you could see the alleviation of the attitudinal barriers. They're ready. They're listening to us. They're hearing us. They're ready to make change. And our exactly, and our voices are being listened to. It's I'm so like for me, I love working with that team at the in Toronto.
yeah,
It really does feel significant, and you feel they're really valued.
yeah.
It's been awesome, to get to feel like you're actually making change rather than trying to kick the doors down and the door is a steel door and you hurt yourself. You know what I mean?
And Hamilton is the steel town, you know.
We are Steel City. Make sure you wear your steel toe boots. You know what I mean? When you come down here, yeah, we Maddie and I have made some plans to attend the Hamilton Tiger Cats game in
Yep.
July the 8th. We are going to be side by side at the donut box, as we like to
Yeah,
call it, Tim Hortons
wearing
Field.
different colors because I am going to be supporting the Ottawa Red Blacks.
Yes, you are. You will be supporting a losing team, but I digress. That's okay. I mean, it's we can't always agree on everything, folks. So yeah,
Exactly.
speaking of that, I actually got to go down to Ron Joyce Stadium in Hamilton, where the McMaster Marauders play, to kind of check out the early signs of training camp, which was kind of awesome to see everybody back in the fold, black and gold there. It was a lot of fun.
That's good.
A lot of fun. I mean, I'm glad to be back supporting the black and gold after the Leafs got eliminated over the weekend. So,
Yes.
so one to the other.
It's interesting. I really didn't care about. I used to care about sports like heavily, and my dad used to have season tickets to the Ottawa Rough Riders, which existed before the Red Blacks did. Long story in Ottawa. And my mom would take me. My mom had season tickets to the Ottawa 67 junior hockey team. So, and I played in like every sport. My sister played in every sport. We were very elite players and whatnot. And that was our childhood. And we sort of kept it up a little bit into adulthood. And then it just sort of dissipated as we had kids. And it's like, I used to care about all these things. I used to know everything about, I used to have fantasy draft things for baseball and hockey. And I'm like, I, there's a YouTube channel that I follow, the DeFranco show, and one of the like every once in a while he comes up with T-shirt designs that based on just funny aspects of things, and one of them is like a T-shirt design that says sports, like not cheering for a team, it's just sports. Because he's not into sports at all. He doesn't really care. And so many other geeky people just like sports isn't their interest. Like, anyways, it's just like that. That sort of just describes how over the last 20 years I've paid attention to sports because I pay attention when my kids do sports, and I've coached, which is really where I've kept my interest going until I had the car accident. But it's like I don't care for anybody. I watch for this playoffs, and it's like, oh yeah, the Leafs are in the playoffs. Oh, Leafs are gonna maybe get the first time they got into the second round in like 1,000 years. That's okay. All right. And do we have Canadian teams in? Okay. Well, if we have Canadian teams in the finals, then maybe I'll watch a game or two. It's like my level of interest has been so thick. In baseball, I have no idea who any player is at all. But yet somehow in my YouTube like recommended things, I have these baseball videos where they show the interesting plays. I'm like, how is that getting to me? And why am I interested in these things when I have no idea who any of the players are? Oh, it's funny. But yeah, I am very much interested in learning enough about the Red Blacks so when they kick the butt of the Hamilton Ticats, I can be happy. Go Sports!
You are gonna you are gonna have to wait a few years, my friend. I will say this though: the general manager of the Ottawa Red Blacks came from the Hamilton Tiger Cats and is a really good person. His name is Sean Burke, and the Red Blacks just signed a player that we just let go, Braylon Addison. So good luck to Braylon on Ottawa. Ottawa does have a lot of former Ticats on their team. So,
yeah,
through the lineage of Sean Burke, I'm assuming.
That makes us the Win Cats. You guys are only the Ticats.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay. You wow, okay. Yeah. Huh. Moving on.
Yeah.
So how's everything else going though, Maddie? Like any um accessibility or AODA fails in your world over the last week?
I am finding that okay. So now that spring is fully out and about, and I am going everywhere. I'm again stuck with yeah. I'll be starting making point of view videos for every business that's in town, and I'm going to start making some comments and recommendations. Like Are you partially accessible? Can I get in the door? Can I get around the store? And can I buy something without taking the front section of your cash counter off while I try to get to the cash? And so,
That's
like,
true.
basically, it's like, how, like, there. And all, yeah, the other thing I'll ask is, is your washroom accessible? Like, can I get to it? Can I get into it? Um, I, I there are a lot of places in our town that, because of the big work they did last year, they raised the sidewalk up on one side, so there's many more places that look accessible. But this it this opened in late in the middle of December, and then snow came, so I never got a chance to do my video walkthroughs. Um, but my issue is there's a bunch of new businesses that have opened up, and they're on the side where the sidewalks weren't raised, because it was already too high. And I just get frustrated and really aggravated that in 2023 a business can open up that is not accessible, and they can use the, well, it's an old building kind of
Yeah,
excuse.
heritage.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you can put a temporary ramp. You can have a temporary ramp available. Put a little blue symbol with a little bell, so that people, that people in wheelchairs or people with mobility needs can click the button. Somebody comes to the front, lays down the ramp. We go up it. Hey, we're happy. The ramp gets put away, and then when we leave, it's brought back again. And it's all like I bought a ramp like this, a portable ramp, for $300. And that last year, when I was the campaign manager of our Green Party candidate, we had an office. It had a step, and this is what our solution was: having
Yeah.
a temporary ramp. Because I only needed it when I need to get in and out, but having that was a huge thing. So if we ever go to events, I have the ability to get up and down onto stages, whatever. It's there actually are grants available for these things. There's a town in our county that has funding for temporary ramps, for any business to ask for. They've had, last year when I talked to the town clerk, no business had asked for one. And it's like,
Yeah.
there are some places that really believe they need to find a way to be accessible. And what they want to hear are what are the recommendations, and then they can figure out, okay, where are the grants to do it. But it's so aggravating to me when I email ahead of time of a business opening. When I know a business is like about to open up, I ask the questions ahead of time, and I suggest some things. But when I get this response, it's an old building. Sorry, it's it is like I can't. Every time I go by it, I'm angry because it's not a valid response. It is not a
No, it's not.
response. Like
And
it's.
we have the organization in Toronto called Stopgap.
Yeah,
With Luke
exactly.
Anderson.
Yep.
He runs that place, and yeah, the ramps are there. The ramps can
Yeah.
be built to your specifications. But here's the thing that I've learned when it comes to ramps outside of buildings, and it's that ugly word, Maddie, and I'm about to say it. It's that ugly, ugly word. It's the L word. You know what I'm talking about, Maddie?
Legacy.
No, that's not the ugly word.
Oh, okay. That could be that. That's a word that's used in ugly things. Go ahead.
Liability.
Oh God, yeah. Oh yes, yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
when you have the temporary ramps and you put it down, somebody uses it, but you leave it there instead of putting it back for when that person leaves, something happens. Who is responsible?
Yeah. You know what?
And that's why people shy away from it.
That's true. I'm so sick of people with disabilities being always on the losing side of any compare any um excuse. Like
Yeah,
there's so many excuses, and so many other issues, you know not enough money. Well, it's like our needs are are treated below minimum standards. Like our needs are
Absolutely.
we get to this minimum standard thing all the time. Almost always when a minimum standard is applied,
Hmm.
it never meets our basic needs, and we are constantly fighting that because the term is just like a throwaway. It's like, oh well, it's minimum standards. You know, it's been approved. You know, it works for most people, and the AODA and the Human Rights Code are completely ignored as if these excuses, trump um, our needs, and like
Yeah.
it's aggravating. Like there are so many good things that are happening in our world. There are so many pluses. There are so many improvements. There are so many places that are thinking accessibility and thinking inclusion, and but then we still hit these areas where it's like we're thrown back 50 years.
Yeah, it's like we're having the conversation, but we also need the conversation to lend itself to a call to action. And that
Yeah,
often, gets lost in the shovel because there tends to be a look at a cost rather than an investment.
yeah,
It might be a significant investment now, but over the long term, the return on investment is really invaluable.
yeah,
And it's one of those things, Maddie, where it's that narrative, it's that stigma, it's that stereotype that puts people with disabilities and continues to put people with disabilities behind the eight ball because nobody is looking at the relative asset, going back full circle when we started this conversation about people with disabilities being an asset rather
yeah.
than a liability, and understanding that our voices matter. It's not okay to just bring us to the table because, hey, it's the right thing to do. Well, we've consulted with this group and we were doing the exact opposite. So we're pulling a 180, but we've consulted with them. So we did our job. So it's not okay. It's not okay. So I
You and I,
right. Absolutely.
know,
Absolutely.
when you and I or any of us are asked um, our thoughts, our concerns, our solutions, things changed positively for everyone. But when we're
Absolutely.
not, and things are moved ahead without us, it's it's difficult, it's costly, it's aggravating, and it begins a cascade of avoidable failures. And
Nothing about us without
it's
us.
attitude. Like if you start off with the attitude that we'll find a solution, you'll find a solution. Absolutely. Not like it's sometimes the biggest problems have the easiest solutions, but you've just got to like accept that you can find a solution.
Yeah, and I think
Attitude
Maddie,
doesn't cost changing attitude doesn't cost anything. Just a
absolutely,
couple egos
well
to your
said.
ego.
Yeah. Um, and I think a lot of the times too, there's a tendency to overthink a lot of things. When a lot of the
Yeah.
solutions for people with disabilities are so simple. They have the solutions right at the end of their fingertips. It's right there. It's just going there, going out and reaching out and grabbing that solution and implementing that solution. But
Yeah.
also, when it comes to the implementation of that solution, Maddie, maintaining that solution. When
Yeah.
an elevator breaks down, for example, I use this analogy all the time. It should not take 2 weeks to fix it because you have stairs.
Yeah.
It really should be treated as a priority. I saw this analogy the other day, and I think we've talked about it, but you can remind me if we have. But there's a set of stairs and there's a ramp. you see the janitor or the caretaker clearing the stairs first when they could be clearing the ramp so that we could all get access. If you
Exactly.
clear
Yeah.
the stairs first, you're only giving a limited access to a certain amount of people.
Yeah.
It's access via a ramp is access for all. A win for
Yeah.
accessibility and inclusion is a win for everybody. And that's where we need to be focused at.
So,
Let's recap.
Let's recap. Yeah, except I don't have my hat here, so I can't recap because I wasn't wearing one to begin with.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good call. So we've established that transit still needs a lot of work.
Yes.
We enjoy working with Toronto.
Absolutely.
Because they are certainly listening to us, and they are certainly taking our feedback to heart and really wanting to implement solutions that have an overall benefit for everybody.
Yeah.
Accessible transit still needs a lot of work. Ableism we need to eradicate. Investment over cost is very important. You had a lot of great meetings this past week.
Yep.
I had a lot of great meetings this past week. I still have my pink face going on here due to too much sun over the weekend.
What I would call it. I would call it a rock lobster.
Yeah, in an orange coat, let's call it. Yeah, it's yeah, and don't forget Monday tonight, 8:30 p.m. Above and Beyond on Cable 14, with my guest Nicole Biros Bolton, lawyer at Ross McBride, is airing for the last time this week. And starting next Monday, I have a new guest. We taped their show this past week, and now I'm going to reveal the guest. It is Kevin Collins, President and CEO of Easter Seals Ontario. What a wonderful man. What a wonderful conversation that we had. Looking forward to that airing next Monday, May the 22nd, Victoria Day. Not sure, Maddie, if you and I are going to do a Facebook Live, being it's a holiday on Victoria Day. But I digress. We'll see. But guys, stay with us. We truly do appreciate it. You can catch us on Above and Beyond Anthony Frisina, at Matt J. Dever, at Above Beyond for you, at AutisticRambler.com, at AnthonyFrisina.ca, at Anthony_Frisina. Our Facebooks are typically live at 5, but sometimes we change it and we pivot. That's what we talked about too today, having to pivot. So we pivoted today. So once as always, thanks so much for listening, watching, and follow us. Email us if you have any questions at Above and Beyond the Podcast at gmail.com. We love hearing the feedback from those supporters. And Maddie, as always, great to chat with you, friend.
Absolutely.
And I kind of feel like our chats can really turn into therapy sessions. So
yes. It's our weekly event, and yes, it saves on our therapy bills.
Absolutely, and even though I look red, I feel less redder. So thanks a lot for joining and listening and watching, guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.